Greetings, free thinkers. Welcome to the Hoggcast. How are you doing today? I hope you're doing fine. I certainly am. Okay, what do we have for you on today's episode? We have for you none other than Nigel Farage. He has travelled to the United States. Now, you know he's one of my favourite people. He always has. He has made mistakes, but then again, we all have. No one's perfect. Just to elaborate on that very quickly, the mistake that I think he made, or I know he made, was after the Brexit referendum here in Britain, he immediately resigned from politics, thinking that, and I'm using his own words here, our job is done. Of course, he was basing that on the idea that the British political establishment, which are just like the Democrats and the Rhinos, only with British accents, would honour the people's wishes. The establishment all wanted one thing, the people wanted another. The people got the vote for the first time in God knows how long, and Nigel Farage, in his infinite wisdom, thought that they would actually honour that. It's just too much for me. Now, we have another situation, this time in the United States, and this is what this video is about people who refuse to honour what the public want. The public want a strong border, a southern border in particular, because the numbers of people, not just from Mexico, but all over the place, even Romanians and people from the Middle East, who are coming through on the southern Mexican border. The people want an end to it. The establishment, the Democrats, don't want an end to it. Now, Nigel Farage has travelled over there, and he has done what he always does, which is give a hard-hitting, on-the-ground report about what is actually happening there. And isn't it funny how in this modern, woke, post-modernist era, the so-called journalists have become politicians, and the politicians have become journalists? It's strange, isn't it? It's like the mainstream media journalists act like they're politicians, and the mainstream media politicians act like they're journalists. Anyway, look, let's get into this video. But if you haven't yet, please like this video if you find it interesting. Subscribe to the Hoggcast on YouTube and BitChute. We're on both of those channels. Either way, share this video around online, social media, or your friends and your family. We need that now more than ever. We are shadow banned and reduced, as YouTube management call it. We don't get recommended like we used to. Nobody who has never been to this channel gets recommended our videos. So to combat that, and if you appreciate conservative commentary, I would ask you to share this around. It doesn't take long, and it really keeps my motivation up. Okay, let's go. Okay, let's give this video a check.
All you have to do is look south of the valley, where cartels are openly operating one of the busiest drug corridors in the country. And they're doing it with the help of scouts placed in strategic hideouts.
They carry with them, yeah?
Yeah, they use the black so it doesn't reflect.
Yeah. I mean, it heats the water up, but...
Yeah, it heats the water up, but the water gets heated up no matter what.
Yeah.
So, camouflage clothes. All this toilet paper, I come out here probably a couple times a week.
Yeah.
And most of this toilet paper is new.
Yeah.
All these water bottles.
Yeah.
They just sit here and wait here until they're ready to be picked up.
So this is where they come, and then through cell phone connection. So who comes and picks these guys up?
So they have guys in Phoenix that are basically coyotes in a different sense.
Yeah.
They're load runners.
Yeah.
So the coyote brings them to here. The coyote says, hey, we're ready for pickup. The vehicle's either waiting or then comes in, typically at night, darked out.
Yeah.
Oftentimes they come in and they mix in with these guys that work at the calf farm.
Yeah.
So instead of 10 vehicles leaving, 12 leave. And they mix right in, you don't even know.
I'm here in Arizona this morning. Mexico is just over there. It is an extraordinary landscape, but what is going on here is on a scale that is almost unimaginable. Since Biden took the White House, the problem of illegal crossings into America has reached now genuinely an emergency level. Already this...
it's been at crisis level for years, possibly decades. But like Farage says, it's gone past crisis level. It's gone to emergency level. Now, us on the right have been trying to say to the post-modernist set, whether it's in Britain, Germany, Canada, France, the United States, you cannot simply add a huge city's worth of people to a country every year and not experience problems. The response you get from them, of course, is it starts with a personal attack against you. They will then label you as an ism or an ist. It will then be followed by moral indignation, and then it will finally be finished with a virtue signal, and then they will silence you from continuing anything you have to say. Remember that these are the same people who will tell you, they'll look you straight in the eye, and they will tell you that human overpopulation is causing global warming, cow farts are causing global warming, you know, the human population cannot continue to grow because the whole planet's going to explode. This is the epitome of Orwellian doublethink. I'm sure lots of people have heard of many phrases out of George Orwell's 1984, which, by the way, was meant to be fiction, but it's fast becoming the instruction manual for the woke left. But if you've heard the phrase doublethink, but you've probably never seen an example of it, you can't think of an example of it, what I just gave you there is a textbook classic case of doublethink. Out of one side of the brain, they are saying that human overpopulation is going to cause global warming and it's going to make more cows fart and then the world's going to explode. And then out of the other side of their brain, they're saying that, come in, the whole world can come in, there is no limits, we're not going to limit how many people can come in. That's an ism or an ist. That is doublethink. Anyway, let's continue.
This year, that we know of, over 700,000 people have come into the USA. They're now being dispersed all over the country, placed in different communities. But what I'm looking at here in particular are those that don't get caught.
Yes, they are being dispersed all across the United States. The reason why the Democrats are doing this, and they're doing it quietly, by the way, although they did get caught, I think it was in Tennessee, they're trying to push these people out of the big urban blue vote blue no matter who areas. The people who would vote for a donkey if it had a D in front of its name. And they're trying to push them into conservative areas. This shows you exactly what their true intentions are. These people, the Democrats, they want power. They're not interested in democracy. They want power forever. The guise of democracy is just their vehicle for getting what they want, which is ultimate power, unlimited power that never ends. They can never be challenged by anyone. And make no mistake, the likes of Nancy Pelosi, who is evil, by the way, she is, dictionary definition of evil. She's an evil person. You can see it in her eyes. But if she could be Queen of the Ashes, if it meant burning down the United States, its Constitution, the amendments to the Constitution, and everything the United States stands for, just so she could be Queen of the Ashes forever, and her friends and cronies forever, she would do it. Make no mistake about that.
Those that finish up directly going into the drug trade and other criminal actions. I've covered this issue before back in the United Kingdom. I've covered the boats coming into the United Kingdom, the lack of coverage from mainstream media. But I think the whole question of borders, open borders, in a sense, it's what got us Brexit. It's also helped to completely destroy the Labour Party in the United Kingdom. And I have a real feeling here, that with the midterm elections coming up in America, this issue of what's going on the border may well be the thing that brings the Republicans back, gives them majorities in both of the houses, and perhaps even the presidency in 2024.
Well, we'll see. I mean, we all know what happened there, or at least we all think we know what happened there. Highly irregular, but of course we're not allowed to talk about that. We can talk about the 2016 one and all of this Russian collusion rubbish. That's okay. You're allowed to talk about the 2012 one, 2008, 2008, 2004, and so on and so on. You're allowed to talk about every other election except 2020. I wonder why that is. Sounds strange to me.
Those in London and Washington underestimate just how important mass immigration into a country is. I have a feeling here in America it's about really to bite.
Cartel scouts sit on hilltops hidden from view. They're armed with binoculars, cell phones, and encrypted radios. They're the eyes and ears for smugglers on the ground, helping them avoid capture.
So you see that the smugglers, the people smugglers, the human traffickers who the Democrats are clearly working hand in hand with, though when I say that, I don't mean that they are shaking hands in dark meeting rooms and laughing about it. What I mean is, it's more ad hoc. It's more, they know what they're doing, the smugglers know what they are doing, but nobody bats an eyelid. Like, think of something along the lines of an unwritten rule, right? Now, if these people are as organised as they seem to be, then their efforts to smuggle people into the United States are more robust than Joe Biden's response to keep people out of the United States who have no right to be there.
You can see the smugglers' sleeping bags littering hillsides where they hide as they move to the north. All this just yards from residential areas. They eventually make the drop to waiting cars on the interstates. That's why videos like this come from Pinal County. But where is it all going?
They're coming through our backyard, but they're ending up in communities all over the country.
Reverend Bryant, how do you feel when you see all of this and see what's happening at America's borders?
There's something that must be brought to the American attention, the consciousness of our nation. And people must wake up to the invasion that's going on here. When we see this, we become painfully aware, Sheriff, of how underinformed our people are. And we understand how our men and women in uniform are underserved.
The men and women in uniform are underserved. As for the people being underinformed, I, to some extent, disagree. And I'll tell you why. That's liberal thinking. I appreciate he's on our side in trying to stop mass never-ending immigration, but that's liberal thinking, right? Most people, working class people, people who, even high school dropouts, people who work in Walmart, and people who went to trade school, especially over these the Marxist university indoctrination centres, they're smarter than people think. They're smarter, a lot smarter than the mainstream media thinks. They're a lot smarter than the Democrat Party and their political establishment thinks. And that's the same in the United States or Britain or Canada or wherever. The real people who are underinformed are the people who tend to congregate in large urban areas, people who hang on to everything CNN says, people who they get home from work or they get home from university after a good full day of indoctrination, and they turn on the CNN thinking they're watching the evening news, when in actuality they're watching the evening fabrication or the evening fiction. The people who live out here, the people who live in rural America and small town America, they are not as underinformed as a lot of people think they are.
While they're trying to serve us. That's a tragedy.
It is. And it has a huge cost on my agency. It's having a huge cost on local law enforcement. We still get some grant funding, and so that helps. But who knows, with this administration, whether those funds are going to...
How do you feel, Sheriff Lamb, when you hear the defund the police line?
Well, I think it's a ridiculous concept. Even Obama, I read an article the other day where he thought it was ridiculous. Now, we think it's ridiculous for different reasons. Yeah. He looks at it from a political side. He thinks he wants to achieve the same thing, but he wants to use different vernacular because the average American doesn't buy into it. I believe it's over 80% don't buy the defund the police notion. And where they have tried to defund the police, Minneapolis, LA, Chicago, all these different places, Seattle, They've seen a huge rise in violent crime and in particular homicides. That's what you get. This country was built on the rule of law. When you start talking about defunding the police, you...
Exactly. I mean, it astounds me that the left and the Democrats, they can't see the absurdity of their own position. And the reason why they can't see it is because they are full of moral indignation, a superiority complex. They believe that they are better than you by virtue of being alive, by virtue of their opinion, by virtue of the person they vote for at the ballot box. So they can't see the absurdity of their own position. They are arguing for lawlessness. They are arguing against the rule of law. That is an absurd position to take. But they can't see it because they're too busy morally grandstanding about a 3-year-old tweet Donald Trump made.
You may as well say, hey, we're going to undermine the rule of law.
No, absolutely. Absolutely. And that all ties in with what's happening here, because actually what we're witnessing here aren't people fleeing danger for refugee status. What we're witnessing here, I'm getting the impression, is a criminal enterprise from start to finish. And these guys that come here go into criminal enterprises in the USA. This is very, very bad for America, and I think the political ramifications of it are absolutely enormous. I don't think the Democrats are going to know what's hit.
It's not just the political ramifications, okay? Stop thinking like a politician for a second. It's social ramifications. The thing that a lot of urban leftists don't take into consideration, because they don't have children of their own. You know, these are the 23-year-old feminist Starbucks set, right? These type of people. They don't have children, so they don't know what it's like to think, you know, what's the future going to be like for our country? They have no love for their country. They burn the flag, so they don't care about its future, right? So when you combine that with the fact that they don't have any skin in the game in creating a decent country for children, their children, that they don't have to grow up in, you can see why for them it's all a game. It's a political game. It's just something to do. It's a way to own those conservatives without taking into consideration the damage they are doing to other people. And these are the people who will tell you that they are virtuous, that they are selfless, that they want to help other people. These are the people, the woke left set, who are going to destroy society, and they're well on the way to it, by constant and habitual reckless decisions with people's lives.
Once people realise the truth. Well, this is the Arizona desert, good and proper. It's rattlesnake country, so we're being very, very wary. I just found this. This bottle is not from the USA, and these are the bottles the sheriff talked about, that they'll put water in it, but it'll be a bit of heroin in it, and goodness knows what else. So these people are pretty high when they're doing this. And where we're going now is another one of the routes they follow when they're picked up with the criminal gangs. See this path? This is not made by animals, this is made by people coming through this route. There's a water bottle, as we've seen, still got water in it, and let's see where they go from here. Okay, so we're following the route, and you might be able to hear lorries passing. So this is I-8, Interstate 8, mile marker 157. This a very, very well known place where illegal migrants are picked up. We saw the path. They come through the water bottles, the other bottle with goodness knows what in it. This 157, very well known, in the dead of night, people being picked up here, often 20s, 30s at a time, in the back of lorries. As I repeat, the people that are coming in here are not looking for refugee status. They don't want to be housed. They're not going to get plonked into communities all over America, as many others will. This is a wholly criminal enterprise. They're being picked up here predominantly by the drug gangs. And I have to say, repeat the issue, the scale of what is going on here. 700,000 people so far this year have illegally come into America through the border. Who's to say? It could be 1 million, it could be more. This was the issue that got Brexit. This was the issue that crushed the Labour Party. This is the issue if the Republicans get the right message for how to deal with this crisis and learn something.
They had the right message. The problem is, the mainstream media in the United States seemed to be particularly focused on destroying Donald Trump, and I think they succeeded in it. Not only that, when Donald Trump got elected, the Democrats and the political establishment panicked. Because this is why they started to accuse Donald Trump of everything they were doing themselves. They didn't want to be outed for it. They didn't want to be possibly prosecuted for it. Because he said, even before he got elected, that Hillary Clinton would be going to jail. Now, of course, that never happened. Neither did any of the other Democrats ever get sent to prison. And a lot of them probably deserve to, especially after the Chaz and the Chop Zone, allowing that to happen. This is a dereliction of duty, right? So they immediately tried to impeach Donald Trump, and they kept doing it because they wanted the finger to be kept pointed at him, not back at themselves. Okay? So I do believe that they had the right message. It's just the weight of the mainstream media bearing down on them and the Democrats just force the hands of the gullible, in my opinion, but that's just my opinion. Anyway, let me know what you guys think of this, which is clearly a monumental racket. These people should be charged with racketeering, right? Because this is a racket. Only instead of dealing with unions and cargo, they're dealing with human beings, right? They're racketeering human beings. How is that not something that should be punishable? But they're given a free rein, a free hand to do what they like. Anyway, look, let me know what you guys think about this in the comment section below. I would love to hear from you. If you haven't yet, please subscribe to this channel, the Hoggcast, either on YouTube or BitChute. If you haven't yet, that could really help us out. Also, share this around. Share it social media, friends, family, the normies. Let's introduce them to new ideas. That could really help this channel grow. We are a small channel, and we have been shadow banned and reduced, as Susan Wojcicki calls it. So it's very hard to grow. So if you could share this around, that would really help me out. Okay, I'll see you in the next one. Goodbye.